Alright, this one has a decimal. I don't like to factor with decimals, so I'm going to use the quadratic formula. I'm going to go -1 plus or minus 1 squared minus 4 times A times C divided by 2 times A. So I get -1 plus or minus the square root of 7 divided by 6. You can leave that as your answer, or you can figure out what the square root of 7 is and get a decimal answer of 0.27 and -0.61. Either one I will accept. Right, for this one, let's do the quadratic formula. So -b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. So we get 4 plus or minus the square root of 8 over 2. You can leave it like that. You can find the square root of 8. And get a decimal of 3.21. Or 0.78. Either way. Or if we simplify the square root of 8, it is the square root of 4 and the square root of 2. So the square root of 4 is 2. Each part is divisible by 2, so you could write 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. That is an answer. If you get here, I will give you your points. If you get here, I'll give you your points. If you get here, you get extra credit. But you must show me how you get here, because some of your calculators will do it for you. Alright, this says to do it using the quadratic formula. It doesn't even give us the option to factor on this one. If we would try and factor, are there factors of 13 that will be 6? So no, it won't work to factor. So we're going to do quadratic formula. When we do the quadratic formula, we get underneath the square root -16. So if you try and type that in your calculator, it won't work. It'll say error. Now if they ask for all real solutions, you'll say no solution. But remember, we have those imaginary numbers. So this -16, we can write the square root of -16 as 4. The square root of 16 is 4. And then I. So we could write this as 6 plus or minus 4i over 2. If you get here, yay, go you. If you want extra credit, divide all of them by 2, and you get 3 plus or minus 2i. I is back in the triangle. Alright, here are your I rules. I don't know if you will be able to read these exponents, but it's I to the first is the square root of -1. I squared equals -1. I cubed equals -I. I to the fourth equals 1. And then we repeat itself. I to the fifth is I to the sixth is -1. I to the seventh is -I. And I to the eighth is 1. In high dive, we learned that if you take it to a power, I to the 73rd, since it repeats every fourth time, you will divide 73 by 4, and you will get 18.25. The 0.25 tells you that you have a remainder of 1, so our answer is just I. If it was 0.5, it would tell us I squared. 0.75, I cubed, and a whole number, it would tell us I to the fourth. So. It's asking us to add these and put it in the A plus BI form. So if we add like terms, 2 and 6 make 8. -3 and 8 make positive 5i. And we're done. For subtraction, subtract like terms. So -3 minus 4 is -7. 2i minus -4i is 6i. And and we're done. So now they want us to multiply. The first part just has us distributing a 3, but the second part has us taking 2 terms times 2 terms. So for the second part, we'll have to do an area model. First term, we're just going to distribute. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times negative 6i is negative 18i. And you're done. Here, if we do an area model, 3 minus 4i and 2 plus i. First box, we get 6. Second box, we get negative 8i. Third box, 3i. Fourth box, negative 4i squared. So we end up getting 6 minus 5i. And you might ask, how did I get the 5i, the negative 8i, and the positive 3i, minus 4i squared? But that is not in a plus bi form because we have this. So we have to recall, what is I squared? On the previous slide, we said I squared was negative 1. So I'm going to replace I squared with negative 1. I'm going to simplify. So negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. So 6 plus 4 is 10. So you end up getting 10 minus 5i. So here's the division. It's a little bit harder, but what we're going to do, I represents the square root, and you can't have a square root in a denominator. So we're going to multiply by a thing called a conjugate. The conjugate is the opposite in sign. So instead of 3 minus 4i, we have 3 plus 4i. And 3
Can
plus
all members of
4i.
Biggs and Friends of Rachel please be released to go to the
When
auditorium
you
for
multiply a
pictures?
fraction by the same thing over the same thing, we're really multiplying it by 1. This right here would be representative of 1. So if we're multiplying a fraction by 1, it does not change its value. It just makes it an equivalent fraction. So if we distribute, we get 30 plus 40i over. Here, we got to do an area model. This one was 1 term times 2, so you could just distribute. Here it's 2 times 2. So if we do an area model, 3 minus 4i and 3 plus 4i, you get 9, negative 12i, positive 12i, and negative 16i squared. So in our area model, we have 9. The diagonal boxes cancel each other, minus 16i squared. But we can't have I squared in our answer. So like on the last one, we replaced I squared with negative 1. So we have 9 plus 16, which is 25. If you get to here, yay go you. If you want extra credit, what do all terms have in common? 5. So you get 6 plus 8i divided by 5. And you're done. If, when you multiply by the conjugate, the I terms don't go away, but that was the point of multiplying by the conjugate, was to get I out of the denominator, then you did something wrong. Alright, so see if you can state what the conjugate of 1 plus I is. You should say 1 minus I. So, multiply it out. Do the top, do the bottom. See what you get. You should do area models, so you should get 6 minus 7i plus I squared over 1 minus I squared. So I squared, we just said was negative 1, so we have 6 minus 7i minus 1 over 1 plus 1. So on top, you simplify and get 5 minus 7i, and on bottom, you get 2. And there's your answer. Please come with notes for next time. I is a hard concept to understand, and if you fully didn't understand it in high dive, you might struggle a little bit with it now, but hopefully you've had some time to digest that information